Hi and welcome to another episode of Pennsylvania Voter Information Network. I am your host, Larry DeMarco, and today we are here with Claire Wilson and Robert Yanuzzi, Chair and Vice Chair of the Eddystone Democrats. Thank you for being guests on Pennsylvania Voter Information Network.
Thanks for having us.
Okay.
For a long time, Eddystone had no Democratic committee. How did it get started? Who began it?
I'm going to let...
Okay. Well, I was living in Eddystone for about 8 years before I started realizing if anybody was going to do anything, I was going to have to do it. I had looked around for other people who would be willing to work on. Mostly, I started by getting involved in the polls, and I got appointed minority inspector, and I got someone to be minority inspector at the South Ward, and I had a clerk, and we got a clerk for the other, and that was about as far as it got for many years. And when I would send out a letter, people would say, "Oh, I'm so glad you're doing this," and that was as far as we were. And then at some point, Rob was moving back to town, and he contacted the local Democrats and said, "Want to connect up with the Democratic committee? And who do I talk to?" And they sent him to me, and he said, "When do you meet? What day are your meetings?" And I said, "What day would you like to meet?" Because we haven't had meetings. We haven't managed to get a committee organized. So once Rob moved in, he had some ideas about sending out flyers and about really having a build-up for a committee to canvass and to get people on board, and so that's where we started.
Once we first made contact, we ended up meeting up at a local diner a couple times to just plan out some ideas that I had and that she had, and
This is the two of you, basically, correct?
And Jim Butt, who lives in Ridley Park, and he was so helpful, and he had just let us know that any training we needed or any contacts we needed. I had been, just peripherally involved with Jean Davidson when she was heading the Ridley Committee, and she moved away, and I felt bereft, like I was back to the beginning. And then when Jim offered to help, he offered to help set up the Facebook page, and he came to our first few Stargate Diner meetings and was really helpful.
I had a friend who was artistically inclined, and we ended up recruiting her to help us make our first flyer. And so she, Jim Butt, Claire, and I met up at the diner, and we came up with an idea for a flyer. Tara, who's now a committee person over in Ridley Township, made up the flyer. We ended up getting copies of the flyers made, and then we ended up canvassing the Eddystone area, and we ended up having our first committee meeting. From there on, it's grown exponentially.
Rob, when did you move back in town?
I'd say January, January of 2017. Mm-hmm. Oh no, April of 2017. I guess would be I worked outside the area, working on in a military industrial complex, and I ended up I've always lived in Eddystone, but I would travel for work, so it wouldn't be uncommon for me to be away for a couple weeks down in Virginia or elsewhere in the country. So, but it wasn't until April, I'd say, that I was 100% back in my home.
Claire, what are your duties with the committee?
I'm the chair of the committee, and so I preside over the meeting, and I have I'm a presence at the county committee meetings, the leadership committees, and when I wasn't able to go in the summer when I was on vacation, and Rob sat in for me, so he comes in as vice chair when I'm not able to. So I get the communication from the from the county, and I make sure that everybody hears about it. Up until recently, I presided over the meeting and took minutes, and now we have a secretary for our committee. So that's another step that we, when we did reorganization, everybody volunteered, and they were great people taking on responsibilities. That was good.
Rob, what are your duties?
Unofficially, I'm there to rally up the troops and get everybody motivated to organize and turn Eddystone blue. I occasionally will fill in for Claire in regards to her duties and responsibilities, but I'm essentially there to be Claire's right-hand man and do the legwork that needs to be done to make Eddystone a success.
Well, the other thing that we have, a lot of times I'm communicating with the people at the county organization, and Rob is really networking. He's out there communicating with people in other committees and trying to figure out how do they do it, when are they meeting, what's the best thing that's worked there, and he's really got his ears open for things that we don't know yet. We're a new committee, so that's been really good for us.
I think we work really well together in regards to making what we've started a success.
When did you officially become the Eddystone Democratic Committee?
Well,
when did they vote you in?
Right, I've been the committee for a while, and then we weren't a functional committee. We each had committee title, but we hadn't really organized in a way that we didn't have meetings and all of that. It was really January when we had our first meeting, and we sent out flyers, knocked on doors. There is a very different feeling right now than there has been in the past, which is that Eddystone was perceived as being solidly Republican. There was no point in getting involved. It was when we were going around in January inviting people to a committee meeting, the response was much more, well, it's about time. Let's do something. I'm on board. People would say, I've been the only Democrat in Eddystone for 10 years now.
Yeah.
We're like, no, you haven't.
When you said January, did you mean January of 2018 or 17?
2018, yep.
Now, I think that there's 3 different dates that we can call, 3 different time periods at least, where we can say that there was an evolution in this committee, and that was Claire's original inception of it with Joe Rivers, the January meeting, and then officially, I think that I'd like to consider the reorganization after the election, the first official committee meeting. That's when we started using Robert's rules, and I think it was the start of the initial conversation about running people for council and different positions of elected positions in Eddystone.
Which was when?
That would be May, June. I guess June.
Right after the reorganization at the county, we had our reorganization meeting.
Of this year.
Sorry.
Claire, you brought a good point. It's widely held by longtime residents of Delaware County that if you live in Delaware County, you must register Republican. What do you want to say to people who believe that or may have heard someone else say that to them?
I think that that used to be the case, that the Republicans had such a hold on Delaware County that it was very frustrating to be a Democrat, and people who ran for office ran mostly to put up a resistance against Republicans just waltzing into office. And gradually, over the last 5 years, it has been a big change. And Eddystone's a little behind on that, but we are catching up, and we're going to run Democrats for council. We're going to have candidates. It's going to be not just an assumption that everything's run by the Republicans at this point.
How large is your committee?
We have a full committee for 2 precincts. We have 8 people, which is a full committee. We have other people who volunteer to do things, and so more than 8 people turn up at our committee meetings. We usually have 10 or 12 people on a regular basis at committee. And we have people who have expressed interest in running for council or mayor. And we have people who have volunteered to do things other than, just...
To the people at Eddystone, and if anybody's thinking about running, we would like to extend an invitation for them to come out and approach us and let us know, and maybe we can help them achieve their goal.
So there's two things here. So you just had election for committee people, and you filled your committee, but do you have enough volunteers?
We don't. And one of the things that's our next big push is that Eddystone has had a lot of Democrats living in Eddystone, registered Democratic, but don't come out and vote. And so one of our big goals in November is to get people to come out and vote in November. It's not a presidential year, and so it's going to take breaking that habit of sitting back until the presidential year comes along, because there are things to vote for now. There are Democrats running. People can have a voice in the election.
One of the things that's going on in Eddystone is there are a large amount of people who feel that they can't participate or change anything in their local government, and that's because they simply just don't understand that we're there. And I can't tell you how many times during my canvassing that people have come up to me and approached me and told me that now they feel that they are able to participate, and we want to make sure that they understand that we're there for them to have a seat at the table, and we will take all the volunteers that we could possibly get to make this a success.
All right, someone's watching this in Eddystone, but they don't want to be a candidate. What do you need help with?
Well, we could use help with call banks. We definitely need help with knocking on doors. We could, if somebody wants to take the time to complete some mailings for us, we could use that. Ultimately, we definitely need people to get the word out that we exist in the neighborhood, because even though we are a successful committee so far, we're still finding people in our canvassing that didn't know that we existed. So
we've just had our first event. That we've never had an event before, and so we had a meet and greet with Mary Gay Scanlon, who is running for the 5th District Congressional, the U.S. Congressional District, and Brian Kirkland, who is our 159th State House Representative. And we held it at the UAW Union Hall, which was another great thing that just happened, was that we made connection with the union. It's got a headquarters in Eddystone. And we need people to come out and help with events. I mean, if there are people who, enjoy that kind of thing, meeting the candidates, we're going to have more.
If anybody would like to donate some space in the place of living, we could use that. We also need people to run. So if anybody wants to run for office, please contact us.
All right, so even someone who doesn't want to run, Claire and Rob, you guys mentioned a lot of different things that there are to do for both people who are open and want to be social, and both shy and just want to do paperwork. All types of opportunities are available within the committee, correct?
Yes, sir.
That's right.
Meetings. When are your meetings?
We will put out a invitation on our Facebook page for every committee meeting. So if anybody wants to search for Eddystone Dems on Facebook, they can find us.
We tend to meet on Monday nights at 7. We meet tonight, but we haven't established necessarily that it's the second Monday or the third Monday. It'll probably continue to be Monday nights at 7.
The committee itself will eventually kind of dictate what the committee itself will dictate whether or not we have a specific date to.
If people in Eddystone watch this video and they want to join, who do they contact?
They can email eddystonedemocrats@gmail.org.
They can also reach out and contact any of the committee people, and we will get them in touch with everybody to get them involved. They can contact me at Rob Yanuzzi, ROBYANNUZZI at protonmail.com.
And for more information, the website is?
Well, we have a Facebook page.
Which is?
It's Eddystone Democrats Facebook page. And we don't have a website yet, but that's something that's in the works.
Guys, we'll leave it there, and I want to thank you both for being a guest on PA Voter Information Network.
Thanks for having us.
We are here with Claire Wilson and Robert Yanuzzi, and I am your host, Larry DeMarco. If you like this episode, please forward the link to all the people on your contact list and Facebook friends. Click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment in the space below. Just to add, the most important thing about committee is the power to endorse. Committee has the responsibility to meet, research, and recommend candidates to the voting public to put on the election day ballot, which is handed to you, the voter, on election day. Whereas hundreds, thousands, or hundreds of thousands can vote for a municipal or county elected official, it is often left up to a small number of responsible, hardworking committee members and volunteers to present the most desirable candidates. So if you are a student, activist, or concerned about government and want your voice magnified, join and volunteer for your local committee. Signing off. Tune in next time. Bye for now.